Hello, friends, and welcome back to Wanderlust Gaming. So, today I wanted to talk about the RG406V and the Steam Deck and how they compare with each other and they actually complement each other as well. With the rise of popular handheld gaming, the Steam Deck has, taking a lot of ideas from the Switch and many other previous handhelds. And I think with the RG406 it has taken ideas, but it has a different and very unique pocket size design, which makes it a very good handheld in my opinion. And both of them are amazing. I usually switch between both of them, but I wanted to discuss some of the purposes of why I decided to make this video, because both of these handhelds I think they do have their place. And you might be calling me crazy for having too many handhelds. As you know, I have a Nintendo Switch and a Vita as well, but they do have a purpose, I believe. Especially if you're like a dedicated gamer like myself, you definitely take advantage of both of these handhelds. I'll start with the Steam Deck. The hardware, as you guys know, I'll speak individually for each device, because my Steam Deck has I swapped out the SSD drive, so I put a 1 terabyte, and I have a 500 gigabyte SD card in the SD card slot. So when it comes to space, I do have a ton of games here. So let me show you here. I have a lot of. I think you saw some games that you were not meant to see, but you get the idea. My I have all my Steam games in total. I have about 57. I do have some demos here and there, but most of my games, they're previous generations and current, such as RoboCop 2, which is like a really fun title, but I have to get back to it. Sea of Thieves runs really well. Titanfall, a lot of these games, and many people did not think, but you can actually beat and play Final Fantasy 16 on the Steam Deck without any issues. And so yeah, the software and hardware for both devices, same with my RG406V here. As you guys can see, this is more of a emulation machine for previous titles, which the Steam Deck can do. So there's no Steam's games on here. However, I do value the size of the screen, which is a 4:3, and it's perfect to play those N64, PS1, PlayStation 2, GameCube games. Just because they just look amazing on this device, and that was the main reason I got it. Even though the Steam Deck can play a lot of those games, but here's where the hardware, where both of these devices complement each other in a way, that because the Steam Deck is a little bit too heavy for long playing time, and the RG406V is perfectly. For example, I use it a lot when I'm flying. I just pull it out and I start playing like GameCube games, or like NVA GBA games, and it's very, or PSP games, which are like some of my favorites. So when it comes to portability, obviously the RG406V just completely takes the winning here, because it's such an easy device to carry around, and just you just pull it out and play. While the Steam Deck, you can do the same, but it's a little bit chunky and it's not very comfortable. For example, if you hold it up, to your face. But there's also solutions. There's like those new VR glasses that you can wear, but you have to spend a lot of money, and the battery life too. This device, for example, you can play for like really long sessions. I think the battery lasts like 8 hours. So that's a long time when you compare it to Steam Deck. If I play Fires of Rubicon, I'll probably get like an hour to 2 hours, something like that, and it will drain out really fast. So that's where they complement each other. And so some of these older titles are just really fun to pick up and play, even for today's standards. And same with the Steam Deck. The if you're plugged in, I have a battery bank somewhere. I can't find it right now, but usually I can get like in total like 4 or 5 hours of like very intense like AAA gaming with that. So yeah, I think the design is, it makes a huge deal in my opinion, especially if you're going to be playing certain type of games. And if you're flying or if you're just at home chilling, if you're just at home, I think the Steam Deck just is just amazing, but if you travel a lot, like constantly like me, I think the RG406 is just a very good device. And I was actually looking right now, the RG406V right now. It's about $160. But with all the discounts from Ambernick, you can. I got mine for like 140. I just had to wait like a long time for shipping because I got it like the cheapest way from China. And yeah, that was like a. I think the system itself paid for itself because I use it a lot, even though I have a very powerful handheld as the Steam Deck, but this one's a little bit heavy sometimes. Hopefully, we'll see some improvements for the Steam Deck too, but I do not think so, to be honest with you guys. So for the final verdict, which device is right for you? I would say like both of these devices can give you a really good time when it comes to gaming. But if you're looking for like a budget and more like emulation type of stuff, I think the RG406V would be a clear choice. But if you're looking for a lot of AAA games, current generation, if you don't mind like the weight of the Steam Deck, if you're just playing at home, you can pick one up for about $300 to $400, and I think it's like such a great deal. The Steam Deck, especially when you see the prices of the Switch 2 and a lot of the new handhelds coming out, it's just incredible that you can get so much gameplay still with this device. So yeah, but if you're like a passionate gamer like myself, just pick up both. So that's the video for today, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.